Good afternoon, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about functions, right? Now, functions, functions with parameters, function with return types we discussed, function with parameters, function with return type, function with return type, function with parameters and a return type, function with optional parameters, function with optional parameters, function with default parameters, function with default parameters, function with rest parameters. This is also called as varargs in the Java. So this is what we discussed in the last session related to our TypeScript. Good. Today's session, we are going to talk about oops in TypeScript. No need to spend much time on this also because you all are from Java background. So you know oops in the Java. If you know the oops in the Java, then same oops concepts we are going to use in the TypeScript also. Just I'm going to revise those concepts for you for 1 or 2 days. Then we will start with the Angular. Okay. Now, so oops stands for Object Oriented Programming System. Oops stands for Object Oriented Programming System. Okay, right. In object oriented programming languages, classes are the fundamental concepts which are also called as building blocks. In OOPS programming languages, in OOPS programming languages, classes are fundamental entities. Classes are fundamental entities which are used to create reusable components. All right. OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. In OOPS programming languages, classes are fundamental entities which are used to create reusable components. Reusable components. Right. A class is a template or blueprint for creating the object. We know that class is a plan or model. Class. What is a class in the Java? Same thing. Class is a plan or model which is used to create the object. Sailu, please stop your camera. Which is used to create the object. Class is a plan or model which is used to create the object. Okay. Now, class contains following things. Class contains following things. What will be there in the class? In the class, we will write a variables. We will write methods. We'll write a constructor. Right? Class contains following things. What will be there in the class? Fields will be available. Fields, which are also called as properties. Nothing but variables declared in a class. Right now, OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. In OOPS programming languages, classes are fundamental entities which are used to create reusable components. What is a class? Class is a plan or model which is used to create the object. What will be there in the class? Class contains some fields, nothing but variables, which is used to store the data. Right. Second one, methods will be available to perform action. I want to store some data into table, or I want to retrieve the data from the table. I want to access a REST API. For that, methods will be available. What is the purpose of the methods in the class? Methods are used to perform the operation. Methods are used to perform the operation. Next one, nested classes can be available. Nested class. A class can contain another class, inner classes. A class can contain another class, which is called as nested class. The class which contains the another class is called as a nested class. Next one, object. Next one, object. or nexted class can be available. Constructor also can be available. Constructor. Constructor. It is responsible for initializing the object. It is used to initialize the object. It is used to initialize the object. Constructor. Constructors are used to initialize the objects. Next one, object. A class can have a object, a physical item or collection of properties. Physical item or collection of properties. Whatever the properties are there in the class, to initialize those properties, we will use this object. Right. What is a class? Class is a plan or model which is used to create the object. Class is a plan or model which is used to create the object. Right. Inside the class, what will be there? Inside the class, these 5 items will be available. What are these 5 items? First one is fields. Fields nothing but variables or properties. Fields nothing but properties are variables which are declared in the class to store the data. Next one, methods. What is the purpose of methods? Methods are used to perform some action. Next one, nested class. What is nested class? A class can contain another class. A class can contain another class. Next one, constructor. What is the constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the object. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Next one, object. What is the object? A physical item or collection of properties is called as object. Are you able to understand this? Good. Please read these points. Guys, I no need to stress much on this oops because you all are already oops programmers. You already know what is oops, how to work with oops in the Java. Same concept, copy paste. If you are not from the Java background, then it will take time to understand this oops. But if you are already a Java programmer, then no need to spend much time on this. All right. Object oriented programming system. TypeScript supports for oops. In the OOPS programming languages, classes are the fundamental entities which are used to create reusable components. First of all, what is a class? Class is a plan or model which is used to create the object. Object is used to store the data. What is the purpose of object? Object is a physical entity. Object is a physical entity which is used to store the data. Object is a physical entity which is used to store the data. Class is a plan. Class nothing but a imagination. And object is a physical entity which is used to store the data. Class contains following things. What will be there in the class? Fields will be available. Properties will be available. Fields nothing but properties. They are the variables which are used to store the data. Next one, a class contains a method. What is the purpose of a method? Methods are used to perform the action. A class can contain another class also, that is called nested class. Okay, now next, constructor. Constructors are used to initialize the object. Okay, in the Java also we will have a constructors concept. Same thing in the TypeScript also. Next one, object. Object is a physical entity which is used to store the properties. Good. Syntax to declare a class in the TypeScript. Yep, syntax to declare a class. Syntax to declare class in TypeScript. What is the syntax to declare a class in TypeScript? What is the syntax? Class followed by class name. Every class will have a name. To represent a class, we will use a class keyword. Inside the class, we will write the fields and we will write the methods. Inside the class, we will write the fields and we will write the methods also. It is the syntax to declare the class. Class name, fields and methods. Class name, fields and methods will be available. Okay, good. Let me take an example. Class example for class. Syntax we understood. Now let us take an example. Example for class. Guys, in order to declare a class in the Java, we will use a class keyword. Similarly, in the TypeScript also, we will use a class keyword to declare a class. Now, let me take a class student. Here, class is a keyword which is used to declare the class. Student is the name of the class. Student is the name of the class. Now, let me declare the variables. Let student name colon string, declaring a property. Student rank, let student rank. This one will specify as a number. In the TypeScript we have a number as a data type. Right. Now we will write a method get student grade. Get student grade. Grade is a string type. Return type is a string. Inside this we will write some logic. Then finally we will return grade. Suppose I want to return A plus. Student grade, return grade, some value, or return A plus. Got my point, guys? Get my point? Are you guys able to understand how to declare a class? Inside the class, how to write the variables and how to write the methods? Okay. Return grade. Now, once we have a class, can we create multiple objects for a class? Once we have a class, can we create multiple objects for a class? Yes, one class can have multiple objects also. Student rank, student marks, student grade, like this we can do. Let student marks colon number. Like this also we can specify. Are you able to follow this? How to declare a class? How to declare a class in the TypeScript? Come on. Is there any confusion? Is there any confusion, guys, related to class in the TypeScript? Is it similar to Java or it is different from the Java? Similar to Java or different from Java? Declaring a class. It is similar to Java. Alok, what is your confusion? Alok Prakash? If it is confusing for you, that means you are not a Java programmer. Object is not the logical entity, sir. Object is a physical. It will have a memory in the JVM, right? It is a physical entity. Object nothing but anything which exists physically. It's not the logical entity. Clause is logical. Object is physical, Alok. Clause is logical, but object is physical. Okay, good, fine. Now, let me write a class. Let me create the object. Let me call the methods in the TypeScript. How we will create a class, how we will write the variables and methods. And in order to initialize these variables, we'll have a constructor and we can call the methods by using object. Now, let me open my IDE to declare a class, variables, methods, create the object and call the methods. Let me go for IDE, Visual Studio Code. We are using VS Code IDE to develop our TypeScript applications. Good. Now I will take a class. I will declare some variables. I will write one method. I will create the object. I will initialize the variables and I will call the methods by using object. Good. Yes. Fine. Let me create a file student.ts. Student.ts, that is a class name. To create a class, we will use a keyword called class. Class name. Inside the class, we can declare the variables and we can declare the methods. We can create the object and we can call the methods. Yeah. Student.ts is created. That is a TypeScript file. Let me create a class. What is the keyword to create a class? Class name, that is student. I want to write variables in the class. How to write a variables in the class? Variable name colon data type. What is the variable name? Student name colon string. Student name colon string. Student rank colon number. Then student marks colon number. Okay, this is the class with properties. Name colon string, rank colon number, marks colon number. A variable with data type. TypeScript supports for data type. Next, I'm writing a method get student grade. Grade should return some string value. So the method return type is a string. Get student grade colon string. That string is a return type. That string is a return type. How we will do that return value? Based on condition. If this dot student marks, if this dot student marks greater than or equal to 75, student marks greater than or equal to 75, then I will return grade as A. Then I will return the grade as A. Else if this dot student marks greater than or equal to 65 and this dot student marks less than 60, greater than 65 and less than 60, then return B grade. Return B grade. Else return C grade. Else return C grade. Are you guys able to understand? I'm writing a class. Inside the class, I have declared some properties and I have declared some method. I have declared some method. Get student grade colon string. Guys, look at this. Based on the marks of the student, I am deciding the grade. If the marks greater than or equal to 75, it belongs to A grade. That student belongs to A grade. If it is greater than 65 and less than 60, B grade. If not, else C grade. Got it? Method got completed. Now I need to create the object. So do you know how to create an object for a class in the Java? Student S is equal to new student. Here I'm creating an object let S1 is equal to new student. Here also new is the keyword which is used to create the object. New is the keyword which is used to create the object. Got my point? New is the object. New is the keyword which is used to create the object. Right. Now let me create this outside. Let S1 is equal to new student. Right. Class available. Class contain variables. Class contain properties. S1 is equal to new student. Now let me store some data. S1 dot student name is equal to some John. S1 dot, I'm initializing the variables. Student marks is equal to, student marks is equal to 80. Student marks is equal to 80. S1 dot student rank is equal to 3. rank is equal to 3. Got my point? Now console dot log of s1 dot get student grade. I'm calling a method. I have created a object. S1 is the object. S1 is equal to new student. Using the S1, I have initialized the variables. Let S1 is equal to new student. S1 dot student name is equal to John. S1 dot student marks is equal to 80. S1 dot student rank is equal to 3. Console dot log of S1 dot get student grade. Console dot log of S1 dot student grade. Once we specify student grade, when we call it, based on the marks, it is going to decide what is the grade. This is called calling the method. This is creating object creation. How I am creating object for a class? By using new operator. In the Java also we will use a new operator to create the object. Similarly in the TypeScript also we are using the new operator to create the object. Now let's call this tsc space student.ts. Transpilation. I'm compiling my TypeScript file so that JavaScript file will be generated. Then node space student.js. Grade A. Are we able to get the grade A? Because the marks I have initialized 80. Let me initialize the marks as 50 and try to transpile and execute transpilation. Grade C. Now you see that grade is coming as C. So based on the value, based on the marks, grade is decided. So this is the just one example that I'm giving to understand how to declare a class with variables. How to initialize, how to create the object, how to initialize the variables, and how to call the method. Are you guys able to understand this program? Class and object. One class can have multiple objects. One class can have multiple objects. One class can have multiple objects. Similarly here, I can create one more object also. Let s2 is equal to new student. Object creation. Here s2 dot student name is equal to some Smith. s2 dot student marks is equal to 90. s2 dot student rank is equal to 2. Console dot log off s2 dot get student grade. Two methods I am calling grade, student grade. Okay, cool. Compile tsc student.ts. Next one, node space student.js. Grade C, grade A. First student grade is C, second student grade is A. Good. Like this, you can create multiple objects for one class. We can create multiple objects for one class. Are you guys clear with this concept? Are you guys clear with this concept? Class, variables, objects, and calling the methods. Good. Next one, constructors. Constructors. Okay. Constructor is a special function which is part of the class. Guys, there is a small difference between Java constructor and TypeScript constructor. Let's concentrate. Constructors. Constructors in TypeScript. Constructor is a special function which is part of the class. Constructor is mainly used to initialize the objects. Constructor is a special function. Constructor is a special function which is part of the class. Constructor is a special function which is part of class. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Constructor name will be same as class name. Constructor name will be same as class name. These all are in the Java also. In the Java also same concept. Constructor is a special function which is part of the class. Constructor is used to initialize the object. Constructor name will be same as class name. Constructor name will be same as class name. Here, constructor can access members of the class using this keyword. How to access members of the class inside the constructor? Using this keyword. To access members of the class in the constructor, in constructor we can access members, class members using this keyword. In constructor we can access class members using this keyword. In constructor we can access class members using this keyword. When we create object for a class, constructor will be called automatically. When we create object for a class, constructor will be called automatically. All right. Okay. Constructor can take arguments, but it cannot return any value. Constructor will take an argument. Constructor will take arguments, but it cannot return anything. Similar to Java. All the 6 points I have given, which are similar to the Java, Read all these points, guys. Constructors in the TypeScript. Constructor is a special function which is part of the class. What is the purpose of the constructor? Constructor is used to initialize the object. Constructor name will be same as class name. In constructor, we can access class members using this keyword. When we create object for a class, constructor will be called automatically. Okay. Constructor will take the arguments, but constructor will not return anything. In these 6 points, anything different from Java constructor? In these 6 points, anything which is different from the Java constructor? Or all the 6 points are similar to the Java constructor? Come on, guys. These 6 points, anything which is different from Java constructor, or they are same? Same, na? Good. Now, 2 points I'm going to tell now, they are different from the Java. In TypeScript, in TypeScript, in TypeScript, constructor does not support for overloading, but it is possible in the Java. In TypeScript, constructor does not support for overloading. That means a class can have only one constructor. A class can have only one constructor. But in the Java, class can have more than one constructor. Class can have more than one constructor in the Java, but in the TypeScript, a constructor cannot be overloaded. Constructor overloaded. It is not supporting for constructor overloaded. Another one. To define the constructor, we will use constructor keyword in the TypeScript. In TypeScript, in TypeScript, we will use we will use constructor keyword to define constructor. But in the Java, we no need to do that. The last 2 points are different from the Java in the constructors. Okay. In the Java, no need to use constructor keyword to write the constructor. And in the Java, constructor supports for overloading. But those two concepts, those 2 points related to constructor is different from Java in the TypeScript. TypeScript constructor does not support for overloading, and we have to use the constructor keyword to define the constructor in the TypeScript. To define the constructor in the TypeScript. Guys, can you please check it? Come on. Let me take one example on the constructor. Class class user ID, which is a number, username, which is a string. Then how I am writing a constructor? Constructor will write using a keyword called constructor keyword. Constructor we are writing by using a keyword called constructor. All right. User ID colon number, username colon string. Right now what we will do, this dot user ID is equal to user ID, user ID. This dot username is equal to username. User ID colon number, username colon string. How to write a constructor to initialize these variables? Constructor keyword I am writing. Constructor keyword I am writing. Okay. This dot student, this dot user ID is equal to user ID. This dot username is equal to username. Now we can create a object, right? Let user is equal to new user. New user. Can I create the object directly like this? No, it is expecting some values. It is expecting some values. What are the values? User ID number, username it is expecting. I'm supplying user ID as a 101 and a value name I'm supplying as Ashok. Then we can write it console dot log of user ID. Are we really able to access those values? We can specify user dot, by using object I'm accessing the variable. Then console dot log of user name. Then user.username, user.username. Now let's execute this. tsc space constructor demo.ts. Constructor demo.js got created. Node space constructor demo.js. Username, user ID is 101, username is Ashok. We are able to access those variables. Now, how I am initializing these variables? By using constructor. When this constructor is executing, whenever this object is created. Like this, we can write a constructor and we can write a constructor user.ts, and we can initialize the values of the object by using constructor. Constructor will be called whenever the object got created. Right. Constructor we will define by using constructor keyword. Constructor cannot be overloaded in the TypeScript. Remaining concepts are same related to constructor. Got it? Come on. Yep. Good. Guys, so similarly, we have inheritance. If one class is extending the properties from another class, then it is called inheritance. No need to explain about it. Okay. Good. So please practice this class and construct related to TypeScript. Tomorrow we'll talk about interfaces and modules in the TypeScript. With this, I'm stopping for today. Tomorrow we'll continue. Thank you guys.